I know, it already said spoilers, but seriously, I'm going to spoil this movie immediately. And it's a fun movie to go into blind. But as they usually are, these videos are much more fun when we get to discuss foreshadowing and just go watch the movie. Theatrical version, not the director's cut. Still here? Okay, 5-second synopsis. A couple on their honeymoon in Hawaii find out there were some grisly murders on one of the other islands. Along the way, they meet some interesting characters, and you never know who done it or who will make it out alive. It's rated R, but it's not especially gory. There's a lot of cursing, and the cast is amazing. Okay? Go watch it. It's on Hulu at the time of making this video. Okay, so the only people left are true believers and people who don't care, right? Last chance. Okay, I mean, I didn't even want to say in the preface that I was going to spoil the movie in the very first win because that in itself is sort of spoilery. But here we are with the opening scenes, which are footage of Cliff and Sydney's wedding intercut with scenes of Cliff and Sydney on what we assume is their honeymoon. Only, dun dun dun, it's not Cliff and Sydney, it's the two people who murdered Cliff and Sydney and stole their identities. And right off the bat, we're endeared to them. Intercutting the footage utilizes the Kuleshov effect to make our brains connect the very different settings. It's genius. And while we're on the longest opening win in CinemaWins history, this is something the director's cut doesn't do. It plays all the wedding footage and then all the recent honeymoon footage, which gives it a much more found footage feeling, but no one asked for that, so don't bother. Also, the keen-eyed will notice the timestamps in the different sets of footage mean that all the Hawaii footage is from a new tape because obviously the murderers would want to keep evidence of who they murdered.
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Cliff Anderson? Of Venice Beach.
And the first line from our lead actress, Milla Jovovich, serves a double meaning. Get ready to hear that a lot. It's one of the main reasons this movie is fun on multiple viewings. But saying your newlywed husband's full name is something newlywed couples do because it's new. But it's also new when you've stolen someone's identity and are trying to cement your new names in each other's minds.
Mrs. Sydney Anderson, formerly Miss Sydney Carswell of Pacific Palisades, California.
But it's also our first hint because the address part is strange, but only strange enough to be lovey-dovey cringy, not murdery.
How did you get this scar?
It involves Homeland Security, being unexpectedly pressed into service as a deputy air marshal.
Cliff's story could just be a joke, or the actual true way he got the scar since he's a traveling serial killer. And even her correction could be joking about his jokey answer or actually quizzing him so he sounds more like a normie.
Try again, a little less grandiose.
And there's Travis Willingham in an extremely not critical role.
All right, Tommy from Michigan, a new wife should know these things.
A new wife, as well as a new wife. They continually play on the cliches of newlyweds to further the joke and subterfuge. Joketerfuge.
Mrs. Sydney Anderson. Mrs. Sydney Anderson. Listen, it's like writing checks in January. I know I'm gonna blow it.
And in the wedding footage, every time the real couple is on screen, they're out of focus or their faces aren't shown. But just enough so that you don't realize, then hard cut back to Thriller Town. Oh, by the way, even the title of the movie has a double meaning. A Perfect Getaway can be a vacation and also an escape from crime, which if you'd thought about it for too long, you might have spoiled the movie for yourself. Possible hint that Cliff isn't actually a nerd and is maybe more of an adrenaline junkie?
Do you miss me?
No, 3 days sounds plenty to me.
That's the longest we've been apart since we got married.
This is 11.5 miles each way, right?
Tell me you miss me.
Wow.
And the comedic new husband trope is actually way more insidious in reality because this is how Rocky treats her. He doesn't actually love her.
If there's anyone in this world that I could love, it's you.
I'll give you a in the car.
Okay.
Another one.
It's the most genuine reaction ever.
You're gonna gain or lose 1,000 feet of elevation. That's the killer.
No, he's the killer. Hey, it's that werewolf mother, I think, from Alcide's dad's pack or something, right? Where are all my True Blood stands who are fuzzy on the characters?
Love our new lives.
Of course she would. All she ever wanted was for Rocky to love her, or at least make pretending to love her part of his current stolen identity.
We're in Hawaii. We're gonna do things we don't normally do, like pick up hitchhikers.
Trying to make sure he's being responsible Cliff, not Rocky, who loves risk-taking and isn't afraid of anything, even when he should be.
This is a good one.
What are you doing? These people want to see less of us, not more.
If you haven't figured it out already, it's that no-name actor, Thor. Love that he's constantly just out of frame or in a mirror, scary tattoos. The movie does an excellent job of casting doubt on everyone we come into contact with.
Suitable for framing.
Haha, this is one of the one-liners we come back to after the reveal. I love how awkward the phrasing is, which just shifts him back to nerdiness.
We go get the f out of this man's ride.
And that's the, you're right, they are perfect for framing for those murders we committed face.
Show it no fear. Watch me. Keep your eyes down. Avoid those green rocks and just be fearless. Outstanding.
Ladies and gentlefolk, Timothy Olyphant.
Hey,
What's your name?
Because I'ma steal it.
Who's in it?
Still trying to figure that out.
Questions without answers because he's being coy about his actual amount of writing success? Nope. Still working on the details of his new life.
Nick Cage is always money in my book. I like how he gets all intense right at the end of the sentence.
You're hired.
So you got a good Act 2 twist.
They do.
3 acts. Here with the journey, red snappers.
Red herring.
I'm pretty sure it's a snapper.
Self-confidence and screenwriting terminology lessons. Also love that the main red herring is talking about red snappers, or herrings. And honestly, Timothy Olyphant was coming off a few bad guy roles, The Girl Next Door, Live Free or Die Hard, and I mean he's a hitman in Hitman.
You get a new story.
Heyo, he's gonna take yours.
We were just there, like, the day before yesterday.
A big part of why I think all these double entendres are so fantastic is because they never cheat. They never lie outside the big lie that they got married and are that couple. Otherwise, they were there because they're the murderers. But innocent people wouldn't think twice about letting that information go. They're good at this, which makes it work for the twist.
Hey, I mean, it's our honeymoon, right?
Even that, I hear you coming for me. That's not an honest conversation, but it is. Who's going to believe the two honeymooners are the murderers? She's reassuring him that they're safe from getting caught. Ha! He takes his glasses off so that he can see Kale and Cleo more clearly since they aren't his prescription. You could make a nearsighted, farsighted argument too if you wanted, but we know they're not his.
They're like a couple?
A couple of murderers? Another good couple to become. And Cliff plays the whole clandestine mission to get service as him trying to save his new bride from the grisly details. But actually Rocky is checking to see if they have any evidence pinning the murders on him and keeping it away from the new couple he just met.
Maybe they just slip and go right on over. Could be the wages of sin.
I'd expect no less subtlety from the God of Thunder. Chris Hemsworth is always a win.
That's 2 lies in one day. Comes natural to you, don't it?
Ha! It does. By the way, while Nick is technically a red herring, the real red herring is Kale, but he's a deliberately obvious red herring to point you towards the other red herring.
Who is between us?
Kale.
Sneaky, stealthy Nick shadowing.
Did you take the permits?
No, I didn't touch him.
I put them right here in this brochure. Pretty sure I put the... No, I'm positive I put...
Some loud and vocal plausible deniability if Nick happens to see Cliff going through Kale and Cleo's stuff while he's planting the teeth.
You leave no man behind.
Some hard yards.
Aw, and Cliff has already taken over Nick's speaking style.
Some hard yards ahead. He knows Nick Cage. You see him play me in some movie?
Baby, you know Nick Cage.
Yeah, I do now.
It's true, you can meet all kinds of fun celebs when you write your own backstory on the fly.
Yeah, deck cord, that's a nice detail.
Just like the newlywed thing allows them to get away with trying to memorize their new lives, being a screenwriter lets Cliff collect info just not for his script, for his new life.
I'm a damn American Jedi.
Which is the coolest sounding job title or military unit designation I've ever heard, and honestly after Reagan's Star Wars program, I can't believe we never got the American Jedi rank in the National Guard. And also it's not too late to make American Jedi starring Timothy Olyphant. No joke, get on it. We'll all watch it.
You get a new story.
Wait, if there was an American Jedi unit, it's not like we would have ever heard about it.
Remember that. It caved in the back of my fucking head.
But he seems totally normal as a result.
My little buddy. There's no nerve endings in the brain, Cliff. Remember that. When you write the scene.
Red Snapper just red herring it up.
He's really hard to kill.
Did you catch that one? She wasn't smiling at Gina at first, you know, in that polite way you do when someone makes something a little awkward. No, she was smiling in response to Rocky's look that reads, "Oh yeah, I can kill anyone," at the same time letting her know to commit the one-liner to memory.
Really good details there. They don't look familiar to you?
Our first private conversation that some people may have thought back on as a cheat, but really listen to what they're saying. Speaking in the third person about themselves would be something you would definitely train yourself to do just as a precautionary measure. And this is how you scold a child.
Apparently they didn't know they were on camera.
Which is Rocky's MO.
It could be anybody.
Meaning, even though we know it's us, from other people's perspective, it could even be them.
He's just trying to impress. I mean, you know, he thinks you're gonna write a movie about his life or something.
Both false because he wouldn't if he was a screenwriter, though he should, and because a fake screenwriter isn't going to either, though he should.
I mean, what do we really know about these people? What do we know?
Some classic Rocky aggression, reaffirming that it wasn't a rhetorical question, it's part of their vetting process of life stealing. And she's pretty dang good at it.
She's from Savannah. Her father was a controlling military. She rebelled. She met Nick in South Carolina. We're supposed to be on our honeymoon, okay? So slow down that overactive brain of yours.
The one you're using not to figure out who the killers are, but the one you're using to decide if, how, and when it's a good time to kill them.
The further we go, the fewer people on the trail. What's everybody looking at?
Whatever he's looking at.
I love the look on his face when he comes back.
Just a lot of people on Oahu when the murders happen. That's the way you look at it.
That's exactly how I look at it, Nick.
Good, though it would make a hell of an Act 2 twist.
Ooh, gotta love that camera slide around Cliff's back to stop short on Nick's line.
And they took cover. Somewhere in here. I know. You didn't see him.
One thing I wish they played into a little more in this movie is what Nick really thinks about Cliff. They had to be careful to keep the twist close to the chest, but there are moments where it seems like Nick is testing him.
Good reflexes for a rider.
But it's meant to be played off as Nick just being cavalier about hurting people. And it could be both, but I'll get into more why Nick gets caught off guard when we get there.
We're gonna have 5 kids, 2 boys and 3 girls.
And since it's her fantasy, yeah, why not be ultra specific? She knows it's the furthest thing from reality, even if she's always wanted it.
That only lasted until I met this guy named Rocky. He was a couple of years older.
The whole story about Rocky and the car and the dog seems like the biggest giveaway the second time through, but the guy she describes is so different from Cliff, we mostly dismiss it as probably another red herring.
Did you ever tell anybody?
Yeah, right now.
Just the briefest intonation and pitch change in her voice, which we know now is much closer to the real Sydney, or whatever her name is.
Hey, what you doing?
Haha, uncharacteristic screenwriter rage or the real Rocky coming out.
Look, we don't have to go through with this.
Go through with stealing their lives. This is the second time they're alone, and the conversation might feel like a cheat, but I stand by it not being one. Everything they're talking about is their next move and how much heat is on them, even extra heat as a result of being with these
Official. Crazy.
people. And the likelihood that Nick is going to figure out that they're the murderers and kill them, like a goat.
But we keep our game face on.
And that's as clear as day since it's a game. This is reiterated in the director's cut, so one missing piece, I suppose.
She was kind of classy, huh?
Rule 2, keep your game face on.
Being woken up by police choppers would freak a murderer out. The way Timothy Olyphant drinks his coffee, is that an allowable win? Heyo, there it is, movie over. Sit back and rest easy. It's just beaches and rainbows from here on out.
You know, I have to admit, I thought it might have been you guys.
So much for our game face, huh? Can't believe it, because I thought it was you! You! The killer!
Timothy Olyphant's workout routine.
400-pound salmon shark. You put up a hell of a fight, but you know who's gonna win that battle.
For a guy who loves Nick Cage so much, he really constantly channels Bill Paxton.
Rod and reel, coast of Alaska. Caught a 400-pound salmon shark.
Cracks are forming, Sydney isn't acting normal. Even now, they just casually show the picture of the bride that's not Milla, but your brain doesn't question it. The slow realization, a full 36 seconds of just slowly pushing in on Gina. A fun part is that I imagine much of the audience figures it out before her simply because of the camera movement.
Copy that. Jedi out.
Jedi out.
Transformation almost complete. Let's give Gina some props here for not being the damsel in distress at all. In fact, she's kicking butt to try to save the American Jedi.
Gotta ask you something.
Shoot.
Poor choice of words.
What we've got here is failure to communicate. It's Paul Newman, Cool Hand Luke. Right before he breaks in the chain gang. You should know that.
Because it alive.
And since Cliff doesn't know a famous movie line as a screenwriter, Nick finally realizes he's the scorpion going into the cave alive only to die.
Think they'd kill him first? Or he'd just drown in there?
But your situational awareness, it actually kind of sucks.
Your situational awareness kinda sucks.
Love that this line is definitely another stolen detail from Nick, but that it also applies, at least from Rocky's point of view.
Call me Nick.
Nick match cut. Love how in the present, the gun is out of focus while Rocky is in focus, and then in the flashback, the gun is in focus and Rocky is out of focus.
We're in pre-production in Canada.
And it's now that it finally clicks why Cliff was so interested in Nick's stories and let him talk and talk, even changing the subject from himself at one point.
Not that me isn't my favorite subject, but maybe we could talk about something else for a while.
It's the last piece of the puzzle that ties all the meta storytelling and movie talk together. David Toohey used all the elements of storytelling against us by creating killers who essentially write and perform in their own lives. I think my favorite and least favorite thing about this reveal is that even though the script doesn't cheat, I still feel like I got tricked into connecting with these people and they are just awful, terrible people. And I don't know, maybe this is the point at which people get annoyed. The reveal is over, so this is just an easy way to get in some final exposition about Gina and Nick. But not only does it help this line make sense,
Have we met before?
it ties their two stories together and lets us finally invest in Gina and Nick now that we know for sure they're the next victims. And like, I'm always gonna want more Timothy Olyphant.
Any second now he's gonna drag me out and then forget something. Need to double back and ask you all private like what it was that I was looking at.
Left my drink.
Where's your drink?
Damn it.
Okay, so it's a funny moment, but also in a movie with unreliable protagonists, I guess. The fact that Nick also plays up his Jedi-ness is perfect. I'm not saying he's not a badass, he proves it in a minute, but he's also human. And when it comes to Gina, he's not as sneaky as he thinks, and he makes mistakes. And this entire hike has been about Gina. It's about getting to Sunset and proposing. I'd argue that he was never on high alert about the murderers because he's an American Jedi veteran and the threat level was pretty low to him. I think he was mostly messing with Cliff in the woods, so he screwed up a little and went in alive. Plus, he really wants his stories to get made.
Come on, give us a chance to talk about our movie deal.
He even took a class.
One of those writing boot camps.
And if you're wondering why this would be on there when they threw the old tapes out, it's a picture. They forgot to get rid of the memory card.
New things have too many buttons for me.
Yeah, that's what you get for buying top of the line.
But don't tell me, but does everything just go into some hibernation mode till I choose to reactivate them?
Write and perform in their own lives as well as occasionally direct.
You are the privileged witness who's gonna help me lead 100 different lives.
And if you want to say this seems like a totally different Rocky and Sydney, yeah, meth will do that to you. Same reason he was all amped up and extra friendly before the kayak ride.
You want me to send you pictures?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 kayaks, 1 hour, $40. And no, you don't owe me 20.
Oh, whoop-de-ta. Well, whoop-de-ta.
Well, whoop-de-ta.
I know we just watched her cut off someone's fingertips, but something about hearing Sydney ape Gina removes any feeling that she's just along for the ride.
Outstanding.
No, they're in this together. And back to the present. Not exactly a match cut, but a fun transition. You didn't know you were messing with Alice. Great reflexes for a serial killer. Brutal. Oh, even more brutal. Ingenuity, and I had that exact phone. I don't remember the pictures being quite so clear.
A little more, baby. Right there.
Now that's teamwork. I love the speed ramping leading up to the impact. I mean, could there be a more believable or better reason for Nick to tie a go-in-a-war rainbow bandana around his head? Gotta keep that hat on to keep the gray matter in. Goodness, I love these 3 different filming and running styles. Gina's been stabbed, so she's a little slower, hobbling through. Rocky is methed up and angry, so he's moving really fast but violently. And Nick is gliding through the forest barefoot, moving quickly but also fluidly like an elf. No bias here. Yeah, I can't think of anything quite as frustrating as this. I know it's about to happen, and I'm still pissed at these guys for physically stopping her from running away when she says she's being followed by someone who shot her boyfriend.
You help them?
Hey, whoa!
Like, seriously, you guys brought this on yourselves. And see, here's the difference between typical criminals and these types of criminals. They always think they can game face their way out of it.
I don't get why her pupils are normal and yours are the size of olives.
Detective Deadman over here. Nothing more important than being right there, huh, Captain Deduction?
Guys, that was a perfectly good story. Count your f***ing shots.
I mean, it's funny that's his concern, and it's also super relatable, you know, for murderers. And Archer and Deadpool.
No way.
Oh man, I love that response. Rocky loved Nick's stories, but didn't really believe them. And he's the guy who's extremely sure of himself, so for Nick to get the jump on him? Brutal. Badass good guy. And no drawn out fight, because of course Nick could disarm him like a toddler.
Oh, bit my tongue, I hate that.
Priorities.
Weapons down!
You better listen to Bill Tench, or she'll psychoanalyze you, I guess.
But you're gonna realize just how good I really f***ing am!
You have to appreciate how fully Rocky commits to his mantra.
Nothing exists until we get there.
Because he thinks he's... Sorry, couldn't resist. But he begs Nick to kill him because he's so overconfident in his version of reality.
Come on, do it! Just do it, come on, do it!
Last chance.
Outstanding!
Amazing. I mean...
Outstanding. 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 Outstanding.
Outstanding.
Outstanding. Saving an American Jedi.
I would have done it if I were you.
Well, you ain't him.
Oof. Look, I'm a fair man, and I'm not here to say it's a perfect movie. I actually like the line, I just don't love the pause, or the delivery, or the other pause.
The one you want. The one who killed all those people. The one that I let up my life. Is the same guy who's about to pick up that gun. Yeah, him.
Doing the right thing. She could have kept her game face on, but she's finally stopped the cycle of her own trauma. Oh, also Milla Jovovich is always a win. Now that she finally gets to act like a human, her talent comes through.
Oh, crap.
Love.
Let's not do a honeymoon.
And thinking ahead. I'd never call A Perfect Getaway a B movie, but some people may appreciate it more if they look at it as a B movie. $14 million budget, made 22, so for 2009 it was pretty successful. Personally, it was hard for me to not just straight gush about the movie this entire time, but I know the audience for it is probably pretty small, and I know it has flaws. Some rough line reads and even the flashbacks that were cut way down from the director's cut may take a little too long. For the first 2 acts, Milla acts like she's acting, you know? Stoic action hero actually comes a little more naturally to her. But the interesting thing to me about the movie's flaws is this. I've read reviews from both people who said the second act twist came out of nowhere, didn't make sense, and the writer-director was a lying cheat the entire time, as well as people who said they figured it out in the first few scenes. I think it was around the teeth in the mint box that I really started to suspect Cliff and Sidney, but it was so long ago I can barely remember. By the way, the benefit of going in blind is not even knowing that there's anything to even guess about. Even hearing that there's a twist will have you searching for one. Julia and I were just that lucky. We saw a movie poster with Milla, who she loves the way I love Timothy, and we watched it because we love some Milla and Timothy. And really, who doesn't love Steve Zahn?
Time in the bathroom break!
Plus Nikki Fernandez, the girl who gets buried alive in Lost. Keely Sanchez. Really, the entire cast is excellent. I will say that Steve Zahn was flawless on both sides of the coin. No notes. And maybe the twist was obvious for some of you, not for everyone, especially in 2009 when these types of narrative structure-breaking stories weren't as common or mainstream. But even more importantly, it doesn't change my enjoyment of the film. The meta-film commentary and the obvious but not obvious characters. Honestly, I think I enjoyed this movie more the second and third time, and then the times Julia and I made our friends and family watch it even more. It's just a one-of-a-kind movie written perfectly to function as 2 entirely different stories. And the characters wink and nod to us about that throughout the film.
Lots of twists and turns ahead.
That's the stunt coordinator Matt Berman from lots of Milla's movies, by the way. But the realization of how much newlywed screenwriters have in common with life-taking serial killers will send you for a loop. I hope you first-timers got something out of it. I truly think it's an underrated gem. Next week, a new one, and I don't get tired of saying that.